Hello. I thought I'd make a video because the video I made about my opinion on Crucible, I didn't really go over my character. So I'm playing a Deadeye, playing Tornado Shot again. And this is the gear that I am settling with to farm my Headhunter or Mage Blood. Probably Headhunter first, and then I will go Mage Blood because I have to change a couple of gear pieces. So I don't think I need Omniscience for mapping. I've got no issues doing what I'm doing at the minute. The only problem is Purity of Elements. It feels kind of scuffed, but you really don't need the damage. So I'm running Purity of Elements, and then I'm just running Grace. That's it, Purity of Elements and Grace. With the precision you get for free, and level 30 precision, you don't have to worry about accuracy anywhere. As you can see, 98% chance to hit evasive monsters and 100% accuracy. And then I have 72% base crit with no power charges, and I have 4 power charges, and that puts me at about 99% crit. So, you know, pretty strong. And then because I don't need crit, I'm running a Dying Sun for 2 additional projectiles, and I've got the enchant on this, so it only triggers when I'm hitting a rare or unique enemy. Most of the time in Legion, you'll be hitting a rare or unique enemy, so this will be up, but it's just so it's not like continuously using itself on white monsters when you don't really benefit from it, because you're one-shotting all of that anyway with the projectiles that I've chained from terrain. Running a Taming, so this is a 40% all res one. Resistances is pretty good, and the damage is really good. It's really difficult to beat this ring out. And then a Death Rush, and then my boots, I've just got Spell Suppression, Chaos Res, Life, Movement Speed, and then cooldown, Recovery Rate of Chaos, of Travel Skills, and Chaos Res on the implicits. So that's putting me at 22% Chaos Res, which is quite nice. Obviously, I'm an evasion build, so I've got pretty much no armor, and this 24k evasion, and then 34k evasion during fast effect, which is pretty damn good, considering I've got a hybrid helmet, hybrid boots, and hybrid gloves. So this chest here is giving me 5.6k evasion because I've taken the evasion mastery node here. So I needed the resistances. The resistances are really tight as well, which is why I'm running Purity of Elements. So I took these resistances here so I could drop a Taming for a Death Rush, and then I've taken the evasion mastery. So as we can see, I'm at 24k now. Take it off, I'm at 20k. So this is just straight up does what it says. It gives you 100% increased evasion from chest armor, and because Hiri's Ire is such a high evasion chest piece, this is extremely beneficial. You're just basically getting, you know, another Jade Flask for free, which is really solid. My Hero's Truth could be a bit better, could have like 50% crit, but I've anointed True Strike on it just for crit chance and crit multi, sort of making sure that I can definitely stay away from the crit flask, because I don't really want to invest that. And then the bow, so the bow I brought today, this is a 1600 LED DPS bow, but it has 15% less global damage, and then increased explicit speed modifier magnitude. So I'm working towards unlocking this to get the additional 10% speed modifier, which will only benefit the attack speed and projectile speed. So this weapon has 2 tags on it, which is really good. So it's got tier 1 proj speed and tier 3 attack speed. So the attack speed could be better, but the projectile speed is going to get scaled by that modifier because it's an explicit speed modifier, and it has a speed tag on it. As you can see, you have attack, comma, speed for the attack speed, and then projectile speed of speed. So that's going to get magnified by 10%, so it's going to give you a bit more projectile speed. And then you combine that with bow mastery, so increases and reduction to projectile speed also apply to damage in bows. So this bow is really solid, and it only cost me 20 divines. In terms of like attributes, it doesn't give any attributes, but it's got flat lightning damage on, which is always nice. Flat damage is definitely something you can't say no to. Freeze duration is kind of bad, but the attack speed and explicit speed modifier magnitudes is really good. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would replace this with the elemental explicit modifier shit, but this is about as good as you're going to get for 20 divine, so there's no real complaints with that. Helmet, I've just gone for attack damage and reduced mana cost. So mana cost is a bit of an issue, so this costs 12 life and 12 mana because I have the life mastery, so 30% of life instead of mana. That is because if I unspec that, as you can see, I've only got 34 mana. If I unspec that, I won't be able to cast my tornado shot ballistas at all, which is really terrible, and that mastery solves a lot of mana issues without having to take rare rings with minus mana cost. So essentially it's the 7 mana. This is basically having minus 6 mana cost on both of my rings, but I'm spending life, so it's pretty good for 1 passive point because it allows me to run Death Rush and the taming without having to juggle a bunch of stuff. I'm running Shadow and Dust because Rampage is really good, and then passive tree I'm running Inspired Learning, and so I've got Inspired Learning here, and then I've got another Inspired Learning up here, and then I'm running Sadist and Storm Rider. So Storm Rider I'm running because I don't have a socket to use Power Charge on crit, because I'm very tight on sockets, because I want to be running Blink Arrow and Frostblink, because it's pretty much mandatory for a build like this when you have to loot at the end, because we're running 2 Inspired Learnings and we're running Gloom Shrine on our maps, and then the Atlas passive tree is all about shrine buffs and Legion, so we're getting all the shrine stuff, and then we're also running Pact of Energy and mining byproducts, and this basically you getting so much power from the map itself that your character needs to be, you still need to be able to do some damage, but this character is about 500 DPS, 500k DPS per tornado shot projectile, with 10 projectiles. This is 5 mil DPS with the ballistas included, and 2 dying sun projectiles. Conservatively is about 10 million DPS, which is more than enough for League Starter, and I've put about 30 divines into this, and I know I can comfortably farm all the content I want to farm on it. It's not an Uber boss killer, but I did do Uber Elder Deathless, I did Cyrus Deathless, I did Cortex Deathless, I also did all the Guardians, and Maven as well. Those bosses aren't particularly hard if you know what you're doing. I've played, I've got nearly 15,000 hours on this game, so I've got a decent amount of knowledge when it comes to that. When you know what you're doing, those bosses are quite easy, but obviously having enough damage is sort of a benchmark, and I had more than enough damage to do them comfortably. Uber Elder was exceptionally easy as a Deadeye, because obviously you chain off the terrain. But yeah, a few cons of this build. So attributes are really lacking because I'm running a Taming, a Death Rush, Shadows and Dust, and Heroes on top of a Hero's Truth and Hero's Ire. So I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 rare slots, or 5 if you include the belt. My belt has double attributes on it. My boots have one of these rolls as a suffix, or as prefix even. So all the suffixes, so the suffix of rarity could be attributes, for example, and the suffix of stun block recovery could be attributes, for example, and that would solve the problem. But my gear is very specific. As you can see, I've literally got 75% cold res, and I don't really want to drop chaos res. I would rather do what I've done. So I've got strength and intellect plus critical strike chance craft on the bow. As you can see, this does go to 24, but I valued the 25 crit a bit more to stop spamming it. The rings have no attributes, Death Rush has no attributes, but obviously this ring gives you adrenaline. It's incredibly powerful. And you don't get an awful lot of attributes on the tree. You know, worst case you can have Thieves' Crafts and Prowess here, but if you're in the position where you need those two, you can always just path down to Primal Spirit if you can make up the attributes. I've done a couple of things to get enough strength. For example, this medium cluster jewel gives me 4 strength. You know, it's nothing too insane, but there's no strength notables on this side of the tree, so getting that, even if it's just 1 point in 4 strength, makes a huge difference, because you're pathing for these notables anyway, and there's little things like that that you can do to sort of fine tune in the early game without spending stupid amounts of money and having to completely re-gear your character. You know, taking Survivalist here granted me a death rush, and I got an extra, you know, 2.8k evasion for free. Basically, like 1 passive point for 2.8k evasion is like the best value you can get when you're an evasion based character. You know, these nodes here for the accuracy, I don't actually need them for the accuracy with precision, but I need them for the inspired learning, so that's why I've taken them. There's no real alternative that's like more point efficient. And when I go Omniscience, if I do go Omniscience, I can take the accuracy mastery to get 500 to accuracy rating, but it's more or less going to be like 300 ish, because of the minus accuracy per level, so nothing too insane. I think the multi-shot notable is just mandatory. It's an additional projectile on tornado shot, you can't really say no. And then Master Fletcher is just another additional arrow. If you need crit, you can take King of the Hill as well, and I don't think a Lionize is worth getting, because obviously you have to sacrifice an inspired learning socket here to get these nodes here, which it could be worth it, but if you wanted to do bosses and like really scaled content, it might be worth it. But anything revolving around maps, inspired learning is just going to come out on top, like significantly higher. Plans for like ailment immunity, so I've got 20% here from this wheel, which is pretty good, but I'm running Purity of Elements for the resistances I need mainly, because it gives me 34% to all resistances, which, you know, obviously I haven't made up on the gear, but it gives me ailment immunity, and I really don't need the damage. Since buying that bow especially, like, I feel pretty comfortable. It is pretty scuffed, but you don't, when you're mapping, you only need a certain amount of damage. You need to be able to kill certain deadly targets, so for me, Legion Generals, or like the Beyond bosses or the Delirium bosses that randomly spawn on my maps. I need to be able to comfortably kill those, you know, without feeling like it's taking too long, and this character's at that position now. Obviously the bow was 20 divines, the chest was 10 divines, a death rush is maybe 1 or 2. I spent about 2 divines on my quiver. Dying Sun I picked up for 40c, it's a pretty terrible one. And I crafted the boots. Shadows and Dust cost me a divine. I bought this helmet enchant for 60 chaos, crafted it myself. And you know, for having positive chaos res, all resistances capped, spell suppression cap, and 80% evasion during flask effect, whilst being able to run Soul of Lunaris, because I'm ailment immune, provides me with a pretty solid character that I am comfortable enough to probably get level 100 in its current state in. You know, I've continued to level up today. I haven't played an awful lot because my internet's been awful. I've just been trading to sort of build up currency. I made like 20 divines today, which is how I bought this bow. As you can see, I'm pretty poor, and I've sort of brought a few maps to recuperate the currency I lost. But I'll put the POB in the description. This build it's pretty straightforward. You do need to pick up resistances somewhere, but it's really, really solid, and it's a really, really good league start. The bar I had before this was 900 DPS. I crafted it myself, and I bought it 6 linked for 1 divine. You can pick up a 900 DPS 6% crit bow for probably, you know, 2 divines. the attacks per second and the crit chance is the most relevant factor. You want to have at least 1.5 attacks per second and at least 6% crit. Otherwise, you're going to be doing no damage, and Tornado Shot is going to feel really shit. But any base bow, especially with Crucible, you can get away with any bow type really if they have at least 1.5% and 6 crit. It's not going to be the best, but it will definitely get you into end game content that allows you to accelerate your currency income, which is what I do every league. Every league I do the same thing. I play a build that is comfortable to generate currency. This league I played Toxic Rain. You know, I had like 5k life, I was doing all the content, I didn't die, I got the passives that I would need to transition. I farmed up a bit of currency just doing essences and expedition, even a bit of currency doing expedition and essences, and like red altars. And then once I had enough currency to transition, I dropped Rain of Arrows, not Rain of Arrows, Toxic Rain. I went Lightning Arrow to start with the Vengeance Cascade, and I played Vengeance Cascade and Legion Dunes, and it was fine. The damage was a bit terrible, but it was fine. I was able to generate currency, so I did that for a bit. You know, I did die occasionally because the damage just wasn't there, and I was, you know, in fights for a long amount of time with like targets I couldn't kill realistically. And then after that, I respect to Tornado Shot. And then I've just been scaling Tornado Shot ever since, and it's gone really, really well. Another alternative is running the Comb Spirit gloves with there's a helmet that gives you life regeneration if no items are corrupted, and you run that, and then you enchant Heartly on your amulet, so you anoint Heartly, and that gives you the rage regen, and then you run Berserk, but you're really squishy. You do more damage, but it's just like POB, like it's just path of building cringe. Like, all that matters is being able to continuously gain momentum in a map without dying, being able to kill the boss in less than 5 seconds, and being able to kill Legion Generals. If your build can do all three of those, you can make 5 divines an hour at league start, no issues. I've made 40 divines today easily, invested all of it straight back into my character. You know, I was rich last league, I'll be rich again this league. If you apply any information you get from this video and compare it with other videos, you'll be having a good time. If you've got any questions, you can whisper me in game or comment on the video and I'll answer them. If you think I'm doing something wrong and should change it, you should let me know. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.